Good to see you guys. Show's about to begin. Working on my cigar, but I forgot my cutter, so I'm gonna end up biting it off. So it goes. So they caught him. They caught this killer of the United Healthcare CEO sitting in a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Some people noted it's been a big year for McDonald's. Trump worked there. Kamala Harris never did. Murderers are just having themselves some McNuggets. Part of the problem is people are making a lot of fun of this. You're seeing jokes everywhere. The guy's name, Luigi Maglione. And it's memes of Luigi from Mario Brothers. You've got the people who are cheering the death of the CEO with some of the most despicable words possible.
I do believe in the sanctity of life, and I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Serious?
I mean...
Joy at the man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. I do believe in the sanctity of life.
No, you felt joy.
Why I felt
you were thrilled. You were overjoyed. You liked it. You wanted to see him dead. You don't know him. You don't know what he's done. You have no concept of what it is United Healthcare has actually provided or not provided people. But you decided that all the healthcare folk are evil. And so, yes, being the murderous, lecherous people that you are, you found joy in this. Who are these murderous and lecherous people? How does this happen? Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. What's going on, everybody? Find everything at TonyKatz.com. The live stream is going. Actor and author and filmmaker Nick Searcy is scheduled to be with us in just a little bit, so you might want to stick around for that. Let's start with the one thing that we know. We know more about this guy in 36 hours than we do about the guy who tried to kill Donald Trump. I think we're going to start there. An important place to start, a valuable place to start, a recognition that we don't get told the story as we need it told to us. We don't get data as it exists. We find out about it. Somehow things are kept from us. We talk about Vegas and it was the Route 91 Harvest Festival. And that shooting that took place there and all those people at a concert who were killed, we still don't have answers. We still don't get the data. But on this guy we know, which is interesting because it doesn't look good for the political left. This is a guy who is a leftist, as we know it, had a 3-page manifesto. Good God, a freaking manifesto. You mean a blog post? He read Kaczynski's manifesto and became kind of obsessed. At least as the story goes, 3 pages were found on him, along with a firearm that was 3D printed, a silencer, as reported, they refer to it as a silencer, that was 3D printed. Killed the CEO, then got himself on a bus and went back to Pennsylvania. His family is from Maryland. They have put out a statement. We're shocked. We're devastated. I actually don't question that. We don't know anything about the family, and I'm not about to engage blame. I'm a guy of personal responsibility. As investigations happen, maybe we'll learn more. But the people who cheer this, take a look at who they are. Listen to how they talk, and they'll all tell you how smart they are. Let me give you an example of this conversation. Not that I would make the claim that this person is in any way violent or dangerous. There is a guy who serves on the Midwest board for the Anti-Defamation League, and he is not a fan of mine, and I certainly find him contemptible because if you want to tell me I'm what's wrong with America, okay, that is contempt for me. I don't see why I wouldn't have contempt back. He, in a series of tweets to me, once tried to explain to me that I am the problem. And the problem is that I don't understand how people actually engage thoughtful conversation. You see, because I'm not a college graduate, And because I support these people who aren't college graduates, see, all these non-college graduates, they don't know how to critically think and they don't know how to act. And they end up voting for lesser people like Donald Trump. You can find it if you follow me there on the stream, on Twitter, I should say, at Tony Katz, Twitix, as I refer to it. I can't call it Twitter, and I'm certainly not calling it X. It's Twitix, so it's good by me. So the college-educated person is the real smart one, is the real capable one, is the real able one, is the kind one, decent, considerate. The college-educated person is also probably the most indoctrinated. The college-educated person is the one most likely to agree with what these indoctrinated professors have put forth. If you take a look at a map, an electoral college map, and you see how the vote went down, if only college-educated people voted in America, Kamala Harris would have won over 400 electoral votes. I ask you right now, do you think that makes sense? Is that rational? Or is that indoctrination so everybody thinks the same way, moves the same way, acts the same way, etc.? Because I put forth to you that it is the latter. This guy, University of Pennsylvania, that's an Ivy League, don't you know? And he is out there printing guns and killing the CEO. Don't tell me that the college educated are the ones who are most trustworthy. Certainly that's not true of every college educated person. That'd be kind of nutty. My brother went to college and medical school, totally normal guy. Well, not totally normal, but not bad. Not bad, the good Dr. Katz. I did not graduate college, and yet here I am, not killing anyone. They're thrilled by this and overjoyed by this. And Piers Morgan, who had this terrible woman, Taylor Lawrence, a so-called journalist on the show, is like, what are you laughing at? Producer Landon, I double-checked it, but finger on the dump button.
How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that he murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most.
Let's explain what this is. This is what elitists do. They decide who's innocent and who's guilty. They decide who's right, who's wrong, based on an ideology they push forward and not having any data. First, she says that the healthcare companies are murdering people. Then she tries to correct herself that the healthcare companies are killing people. Then she decides that the CEO is greedy, but she has not brought any data to bear. If we want to argue that healthcare is something that we need to correct and adjust in the United States, make changes to, that's fine by me. The answer is killing the CEOs because we know that's the right thing to do with those greedy people. I was on Newsmax yesterday. And on this conversation on Newsmax, I asked the following question. I believe that the question is a rough one, but I also believe it's an accurate one. The question goes as follows. If you want to live in a society where a class of people decides for another class of people who should live and who should die, who is right and who is wrong, who is good and who is evil, Taylor Lawrence, what happens when they decide that journalists are next? You are amongst a class of people who said that Donald Trump is creating a dangerous situation for journalists, calling them the enemy of the people. He is single-handedly leading to journalists being hurt. You are amongst that class of people. And now you, certainly not all of the journalists, you are now cheering the murder of a CEO of a healthcare company because you decided that that group of people isn't worthy. So why would that group now not turn on you? You are amongst the group of journalists that lied about Joe Biden's condition, leading him to continue to run for office and nobody intervening until it was too late. The debate took place and Kamala Harris only had 107 days to run. This is all your fault, Taylor. It's not her fault. Neither here nor there. right? I don't want people saying, well, Tony Katz said, so therefore I did. No, I'm making the point. And the point gets made in a very, very direct way. Look at what it is you're saying. You're saying, why have a standard? You're saying, why in the world should we have a civil society? Let us, the elitists, decide who lives and who dies. This is what you're saying. And you're saying it with a smile.
People. And the many millions of Americans that have watched people that I care about suffer and in some cases die because of lack of health care.
So should they all be killed then? Should they all be killed, these healthcare executives? Would that make you even more joyful?
No, that would not.
But why not?
And,
why are you laughing?
I think because it wouldn't fix the system.
You seem to find the whole thing hilarious.
I find your question funny.
A bloke's been murdered in the street.
What she finds hilarious that anybody would question her. She's supposed to be able to say this ridiculous thing, and everybody's supposed to understand and then move on. No one's supposed to say, do you understand what you just said? To quote J.D. Vance, the future vice president of the United States, do you hear yourself? No one is supposed to do that. Now, I will tell you that I am flat out disgusted by the people who think that the name of this murderer, hey, let's make fun of it and let's compare it to memes of Luigi and Mario Brothers. I think that's so weird. I think it's gross, right? It's just gross. It's, you know what? Let's do better. It's distasteful. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Gross is Taylor Lawrence and all these people who are like, oh, killing a healthcare CEO, that's the best. That's the best. That's exactly what should happen. That's how you handle things in America. Oh, dear Lord, political left, you don't want to be handling things this way. Well, let me ask the question maybe in a more rational way. Is this to you the sign of a civil society? Getting your way by killing your way there. For the people who want to tell me that communism doesn't kill, I rest my case. But the follow-up is, if this is the fight you want to have, why do you think you'll win it? Why do you think that you will win it? I think it's an odd place for you to be, an odd argument for you to have. But I think the conversation we all need to have is exposing these people who are fine with the murder to our children and to our friends. This is not what we do in America. This is indecent. This is Banana Republic stuff. But I don't expect anything less from a political party and that side of the aisle that also called for a lone wolf in killing Donald Trump. Because of course they did. We said it here. We said it repeatedly. The facts are the facts. They're undeniable. There are going to be more parts of this investigation. We're going to learn more, for sure. We're going to find out exactly how many people are like this guy. We're going to find out what exactly moved him regarding specifically United Healthcare. There's also a story that he had back surgery, and that back surgery went poorly. He was didn't move as well. There was a whole conversation about sexual performance. There's been a lot. I think we should start at a baseline. Because you don't like something doesn't mean you murder the person. You don't cheer the murdering of others who are doing their job. You go about making actual change in a civil society. Because if you cheer it with the belief that you know best, wait till somebody thinks they know better than you. That's a bad recipe. I'm Tony Katz. Guys, good to be with you. What's going on? Oh, my cigar went out. This is a La Galera. It's Connecticut. I don't always start a day with a cigar. You know, I usually wait until the end of the day, but sometimes when I get the chance, I like the La Galera Connecticut. More mild cigar, a nice way to start the day. I think it goes well with exceptional with coffee. Absolutely exceptional with coffee. I want you to know soon Nick Searcy will be there, right there. He's not there yet, so we're not gonna We're not going to call his name just yet. I don't want to out the man. He's putting things together right now. Looking forward to speaking to Nick. I've known Nick a while, since my time in Los Angeles. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is undeniably a star. In a world of stars, he's a star. His IMDb is through the roof. Of course, his work on Justified is absolutely legendary. But Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Castaway, the list goes. It's a crazy list. He did a video series. I was actually in the video series. I small little part right there, but unbelievably decent, unbelievably kind, and he's been all over the stories regarding January 6th. He has been incensed, and he made a movie about it, a documentary about it called Capital Punishment. And I think we're together on the subject like a good 88%. I think there are a couple things that we disagree on, but man, forgive me. He's on it and is unrepentant and unrelenting. Hold on a second. You pronounce his name wrong. Wait, whose name did I pronounce wrong? Who's that? Luigi? The guy, the shooter? What did I say? Mangione? Oh, my fault. I apologize. Hold on. You are a nut. You have no idea what you're talking about. Well, I guess that's a matter of opinion right there. Did I pronounce his name wrong? Did I? Because that stinks if I did that. Mangione. My fault. I'll correct that. Yeah, I don't want to make a mistake for the sake of making a mistake. That seems absolutely silly. But is this to say that you're a nut? I mean, that's just downright rude. Also, it means nothing to me. You should see what I get called. I had somebody on Twitter talking about the video yesterday, saying, there's no room between your waddle and your neck. This right here. It's like, wow, that's cold-hearted. Also, I don't care. I mean, to be that angry at somebody on social media, just silly. Just absolutely, positively silly. If I got a pronunciation wrong, just let me know. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. Hold on. Hal thinks I'm dodging the elephant in the room. If you want to talk about the cost of healthcare, you can. It doesn't mean you get to kill a CEO. You can't rationalize that. Psychopath. That's psychotic behavior. Good gosh. I don't believe there's any doubt that Pete Hegseth is going to get confirmed as Secretary of Defense. And a lot of people are discussing, Joni Ernst is on board now because people are desperate to be first to the thing. Look, I've got the scoop. You don't have any scoop. Joni Ernst was always there. She was always there. It was this manufactured insanity of, we got to put the pressure on. And so we're clear. There's nothing wrong with putting pressure on. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at TonyKatz.com. Put pressure on. They're senators. They're elected officials. Put all the pressure on that you like. But there was never a question that Joni Ernst wasn't going to at least hear what was happening. She was going to let the confirmation hearings go on. It's not like she was going to be able to stop them. She's a senator. She wants to be courted a little, maybe a little bit loved. I don't know why this is surprising. Even Hegseth himself today.
Do you think that you could lock in Senator Ernst's vote today? Do you think you'll make good progress today when you do meet with her?
Really looking forward to meeting with Senator Ernst. Appreciate her. I respect her background and her service, which is incredible. and the ongoing conversation has been very fruitful. Looking forward to it.
Do you know what the hang-up is with her?
Can you talk about, excuse me?
Do you know what the hang-up is with her? Has she made that specific to you? What?
This is an advise and consent process, which I very much respect, and so does she. So I've known her for many years, respect the heck out of her, and look forward to talking to her.
And that's it. That's it. I'm going to say 51 votes for Hegseth as defense secretary. I'm going to say 51. And then we're going to get into what happens with Marco Rubio, because he'll get approved. He'll do far better. And by the way, Hegseth should get 65 votes. Democrats should be okay with this. But I can't. There's an irrationality at play. Rubio will get more votes. And then who replaces Rubio in the Senate? Well, that is a thing. By the way, someone noted that I pronounced the name of the murderer wrong. I think I said Maglione, and it's Mangione. Mangione. And I don't know if that's Mangione or Mangione, like Chuck Mangione. I don't know how it's pronounced. I've heard it pronounced both ways. But if I like mispronounce something, just let me know. Just let me know. Someone sent me a note. You pronounced his name wrong. Terrible channel. Okay. All you have to do is say, hey, you mispronounced this. I appreciate it. We're in this together, guys. It's super easy. Also super easy is to see that a tremendous number of Trump's cabinet picks are going to get confirmed. There are some serious issues. Now, you guys know I am not down with RFK. I'm not there at all. But the one that is most problematic, wait, he might be, because he's not on the political right by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't know if I want him having that much control of anything. Lori Chavez DeRemer. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Just let me know. Put a comment up below. She is a Republican, one-term congresswoman from Oregon, but she also is outrageously pro-union, and to the point where she co-sponsored, as is reported, the PRO Act, which gives unions massive power, which I wholeheartedly and completely oppose. This is disqualifying in every single way. This was a bad pick. I think like the rest of us, I think the vast majority of Trump's picks are they're better than we thought. They're solid. They're more thoughtful. They're more curated. They're more prepared. Some of them were shocking, right? Can you say that about Matt Gaetz? No, but the Pam Bondi pick behind it is so mostly solid that you're like, I forgive you. The Hegseth pick, we were all like, really? I didn't see that coming. And then you saw the insanity from the left. You're like, well, screw those people. We're fine with this. That did happen in a lot of cases. And he was a fine pick to begin with. Kash Patel and some of these other picks down the line, good things. But they weren't all winners. And Chavez DeRemer is not a winner. Can't be confirmed. Can't be confirmed. Now let's get into the conversation of what happens on day one. Who does Trump pardon? Nick Searcy, the award-winning actor, author, and filmmaker, is with us next to discuss it. This is Tony Katz Today. welcome back. Just need to do a little adjustment right there. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can bring him on. I'm gonna see if I can make this work. Look at you. Look at you, you handsome bastard.
There it is. How are you?
I'm good. All is well in Indianapolis. How is North Carolina? You officially settled in now?
I'm not in North Carolina. I'm originally from North Carolina, but now I live in Kentucky and Tennessee most of the time. I kind of split my time.
I thought it was North Carolina. My mistake. You are just to my south, right there. I by the way, I like that you still put international film and television star. This is Nick Searcy in his heel days.
It's just a fact. It's just a fact. I've done movies all over the world.
Ta-da. So we're on radio in 2 minutes, although people are watching, and the people of Tulsa say hello, and of Memphis and every place else that listens to the show. I have, of course, the movie Capital Punishment. Yeah. I've got that. And then I've got this look how handsome. Look how handsome he is, ladies and gentlemen. Justify This, A Career Without Compromise. But what we're going to get into is January 6th. And before we get to the show, we're about a minute from the radio show. At what moment after January 6th took place, or you're there, right? So you're watching. Yeah. At what moment did you say to yourself, whoa, that's not what happened at all? Because that's the premise.
Yeah. Well, pretty much the very next day, I was like watching television. I was going, I didn't see any of that. I didn't see any of the things that they were showing me on television. And I didn't see anything on television that I actually did see, which was people singing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And it was a happy day. It looked like a tailgate party. And so I immediately was suspicious. And then a number of things happened over the next couple of months where I just went, that doesn't sound right. And then some people approached Chris Burgard and I at a conference we were at and said, if you wanted to make another documentary, what would you make it about? And we said January 6th. So we were off and running.
So we'll be back to the radio show in just a minute. By the way, Chris Burgard is an absolutely fantastic documentary filmmaker. His documentary Border, which is, I think, 15 years old now, Nick.
Yeah, maybe more like 20. Yeah.
Yes. He was on this subject before anybody was. We're about to hit the radio show, Nick Searcy, so stay right there. Good cigar. Everyone should have one. There can be no conversation of day one of the Trump presidency without the conversation of pardons, which really Joe Biden put into the fore by pardoning Hunter Biden. Trump and pardons already. They're talking about Joe Biden needs to be engaged in prophylactic pardoning, which, well, is funny until you get to the idea that pardon everybody so Trump can't go after anyone. Why should anybody be held to account is a unique counter argument, one that I put into play. But if you tell me that Anthony Fauci needs to be pardoned, I'm going to ask why. If you tell me that Adam Schiff needs to be pardoned, I'm going to ask why. But in the pardon conversation is the January 6th conversation about all those people who have been placed in jail. And the question is, should they be there? Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Nick Searcy joins me right now. International film and television star. You might know him from the TV show Justified, where he was Timothy Oliphant, second place star of that show right there. He is also a filmmaker, a series of films, including the documentary Capital Punishment, which talks about him being at the Capitol on January 6th and what he saw versus what the media told America. His latest book is called Justify This, A Career Without Compromise. You can get that at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold. Nick, you and I think, are about 88% together on January 6th. We may have some places where we have a disagreement. And we were talking before the show about you being there, and what you saw is different than what the media portrayed. Now, I don't want to argue that certainly there are people inside the Capitol and certainly there was damage done. but rather one of the central tenets of your film, Capital Punishment, is that the cameras all worked in one direction and didn't look at the million people in the other direction who were just hanging out. The thesis, is that the thesis of the film?
That's probably the thesis of the first one. You know, the first tagline was everything they told you about January 6th was a lie. They're lying about how many people were involved in all the violence. And they're also lying about who actually did the violence. There were a lot of people in the crowd that day that were not legitimate Trump supporters. They were there to cause a fracas. And the Capitol Police that day, in many cases, were the aggressors, were the instigators. And so many people that have been charged with assault were simply defending themselves from an attack by the Capitol Police, which was unwarranted. We ended up making a sequel to Capital Punishment, which we released this May, called The War on Truth. And in that film, we even go into more detail about exactly who these people are that the government has been calling domestic terrorists. They're not domestic terrorists. They're people who've never been arrested for anything before in their lives. And we go into exactly why the government did this, why they were lying about that day, what the intention was, and who actually caused January 6th to be the event that it was.
Now, to that end, January 6th, as America was told about it, never mind the screaming and yelling we saw from pundits on cable news, came from this January 6th committee. You know TV better than anybody I know. Can you describe to people what a showrunner is and how it is that Democrats put on this story, this show about the January 6th hearings?
Well, the showrunner is responsible for the content of the show. And so the January 6th committee hired an ABC producer to produce their show. They did 9 episodes. It was a 9-episode miniseries. And they basically just left out things that did not fit their narrative. So they lied about the day. They did not call witnesses that could have told them about, for example, in the 9 episodes that they produced, there was no mention of the murder of Ashley Babbitt. And in The War on Truth, we talked to a guy named Taylor Hanson, who was in the room when she was killed and had footage. And he was continually writing the January 6th committee saying, please let me testify. I saw what happened. They didn't want to find out what happened because that didn't fit their narrative. So it's lies of omission. In many cases, they suborned perjury from witnesses. Liz Cheney was caught talking to the lawyer of one of the witnesses who claimed that Trump had tried to grab the wheel of the limo like some sort of Superman to go back and join the insurrection or some garbage. So, yes, it was all a show produced by the January 6th committee.
Talking to Nick Searcy, international film and television star, his latest book. Wait, is this your latest or is this your first?
It's my first. It's my first book.
First and latest. Yeah. Justify This, A Career Without Compromise by Nick Searcy. You as an actor, Hollywood, we don't always hear from conservatives. It's a conversation we have had a lot over the years. But you have been one of the most front and center people on January 6th. And when it comes to pardons, as President Trump has been discussing pardons, your argument, and you and I differ a little bit here, you believe everybody who is right now imprisoned regarding January 6th should get a pardon. I think there might be a reason 1 or 2 people actually got the prison sentences that they got. But before we get into who should get pardoned, I have heard stories repeatedly that the people who have been in prison, the people who've been held without bail, without being able to get access to lawyers, possibly without access to doctors, not being able to get phone calls, there's a real horror show going on in our country with American citizens not getting any level of due process. True or false?
Absolutely true. And part of the reason I say we need to pardon them all is because every one of them have had their constitutional rights violated. Their right to a speedy trial, for example, their right to a jury of their peers. They all had to be tried in Washington, D.C., which, as you know, is a 97% Democrat city. There is no possible way that they could get a fair hearing in front of a jury in Washington, D.C., and that's why you have a 99.7% conviction rate among the January 6 defendants that actually go to trial. So they've already all had their constitutional rights violated. And the problem that I have with this idea that we should pardon only the nonviolent defendants is that they have lied. The government has lied about what they classify as violence. In many cases, for example, there's a friend of mine, Jay Johnston, who was charged with assault because he was standing in the middle of the crowd at the tunnel and they were passing a police shield back over the top of the crowd. He touched the police shield, passed it on, and they characterized that as assault because he touched the police equipment. There's a lady named Victoria White who was beaten on the head 42 times for no reason by a Capitol policeman named Jason Bagsham or something like that. Bagsham, I believe is his name. And she was charged with assaulting a police officer because she put her hand up to try to stop the baton from hitting her in the head. So when they say nonviolent, I agree with you that there may be one or two or a few people that maybe deserve what they got, but most of the people that they are classifying as violent domestic terrorists are nothing of the sort.
And certainly if we're having a discussion of constitutional rights being violated, well, then that's the ball game. Everybody should be released. As a matter of practicality, is there something that people should expect from Trump on January 20th? Is this something where you feel that a pressure campaign gets involved? Don't forget these people. Don't forget to pardon them all. Don't forget to make this happen. Or is it your feel based on connections, et cetera, that Trump is on this? He's serious about this, and this is coming immediately, if not sooner.
I believe that Trump is on this. He said the other day on day one, he's going to start issuing pardons. I think that he's on board with all this. I know that he has a transition committee that's looking into all this. There's a lady named Suzanne Monk. You can follow her on X or Twitter. And she has the January 6th Freedom Project. And she has compiled a list of all the defendants, everything they've been charged with. She has all the information there. She's done great work in sort of making sure that if you do want to go case by case, she's got all the information right there ready to go. And I really do believe that he is going to pardon almost everyone on day one. I mean, I think it's coming very quickly, and I think it's necessary, because one thing that has to happen is that the whole narrative that the government has created about January 6th has to be totally discredited. And the best way to totally discredit it is to come right out and say everything they said about it was a lie. They have unfairly prosecuted these people, and we're letting them all go.
Talking to Nick Searcy. He is the author of Justify This, A Career Without Compromise. Also, the creator, the filmmaker of Capital Punishment, discussing the January 6th rally and the lies America were told. And the argument is that everything is a lie hits people oddly, because they're like, well, it can't all be a lie. I'm staring at this guy dressed as a Viking in the middle of the House floor. That part can't be a lie. What you're engaged in is really more of an origin story of how this came to be, as opposed to specific one or two acts, the mythology that was created around this.
Yeah, I mean, you say, yeah, there's a guy dressed as a Viking inside the Capitol. How to get in there? You know, they don't show you that. They don't show you that the police said, come on in, and they were leading him around. I mean, that's the thing. They say, you know, they show the people, you know, scuffling with the police. Well, they don't. What they didn't show you was that the crowd was just standing around singing, and the Capitol Police began firing flashbangs into the middle of the crowd, injuring people, causing two men to have heart attacks. And so they were intentionally infuriating the crowd. They were beating women in front of this crowd, knowing that there were, you know, ex-military people there that were basically sheepdogs at heart. And when they saw a woman being beaten for no reason, they did retaliate. So they don't show you why the violence happened. They only show you, oh, look at this horrible thing. Look at this man scuffling with the police. But they don't show you what the police did to the man to infuriate him or to instigate the violence.
So this leads us to what happens to these people who are part of this January 6th committee? Don't get me wrong. I have no respect for them. There's no respect to have for Liz Cheney. There was at a time she ended that. There's no respect to have for Adam Kinzinger. There may have been at a time he ended that. There's no reason to have respect for Benny Thompson, who was the chairman of the January 6th committee, and others. There's certainly no respect to have for Nancy Pelosi, who wouldn't allow people like Jim Banks or Jim Jordan onto some of these committees. But Trump has discussed a level of prosecution. I think it was blown out of proportion in the Welker interview with NBC, with Meet the Press. He's going to go after and prosecute these people associated with the January 6th committee. If you were wanting Trump to make the move for the discrediting and setting the record straight, what is the elevator pitch? What do you say to the American people in 30 seconds or less?
They destroyed the evidence that would exonerate many of the defendants. Lies of omission. They did not investigate thoroughly. The first thing I would do is demand that they produce all the evidence that they suppressed, which they would be unable to do. And then I would prosecute them. I would put them on trial for suborning perjury and for withholding evidence, which resulted in the unfair prosecution, the illegal prosecution of innocent people.
So this is not about the committee. This is about how the committee acted. That is a distinction with a difference. His name is Nick Searcy, everybody. Yes, Nick Searcy on Twittix. That's Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. The book, Justify This. It's not his latest book. It's his first book. Get it right, Tony. Mm-hmm. Justify This, A Career Without Compromise. Nick, a pleasure. Stay right there for just one moment. More is coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. All right, we're clear from the radio side. First of all, it's good to see it. It's good to hear your voice.
You too, Tony. You too.
I have discussed with you over the years about getting you up to Indianapolis. I want you to know how serious I am. We've got people listening as we're on in Tulsa and KRMG. We can go to Tulsa. We can go anywhere you want for a one-on-one, small crowd, bourbon and cigars, and break all this down. You just got to tell me. Where do I write the check? Just tell me where.
No, I'd love to do that. And in fact, I'm much closer to you than I used to be. I'm in a town called Cloverport, Kentucky, which is right across the river from Tell City, Indiana.
Oh no, you're like nothing away.
Yeah,
that is
I'm very close now,
as they say in the Midwest.
Yeah. So we moved here in March of this year. We have a nice little place here that. It's an outpost. It's a place that's safe from the big city folk.
I'm gonna let you go, let you be, man. I'm gonna arrange this, and you're coming up. This is happening, Nick, man. Good to hear your voice. Good to see you.
Thanks, Tony. See you soon.
You got it. That's Nick Searcy right there. Good man. Good man. We will let him go and live his life. I think that's the most solid point. If you violated the constitutional rights of these people, it's game over. They get pardoned. He's right. I made the argument that some people could have actually been engaged in acts that are indeed jail-worthy. But if you start by saying, well, we violated their constitutional rights, it's game over. There's nothing else. We either uphold or we don't. So, okay, I'm in. He actually turned me around right there. Here, let's go to some of the comments. This is Hal. Hey, Hal. The elites are the ones who are insisting we can't have health care insurance because of communism. That, of course, doesn't make sense, but it seems to work for your audience. What? We have healthcare insurance. We have health insurance. It exists. Or do you mean universal healthcare, which is to say socialized medicine? See, this was the comment from Hal earlier. A recent report found that the for-profit U.S. healthcare system ranks last among peer nations. We spend twice as much per capita on healthcare and have the worst health outcomes. Reminder that Medicare for All would save $450 billion in healthcare costs and 68,000 lives per year. No conversation of how many people die because they're not worth keeping alive. with all due respect, it always ends in that. Of course it does. If government makes the decision and costs become too extreme, some people just have to go because it's not cost effective. And then, of course, you forget that rich people are going to be able to afford levels of auxiliary care, and poor people are going to be left to suffer at the hands of government. Now, if you're fine with that, okay. I think that's kind of gross myself. Maybe we shouldn't be okay with those kinds of things. This is John, who can't believe people are upset that you've got progressives cheering the murder of a healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. How does anyone fall for your fake outrage? Oh, my fake outrage? That's not fake. How does anyone fall for your fake outrage when you cheered for Kyle Rittenhouse? The fact is you are deflecting from the abomination that is our healthcare system is coincidentally delivered by the Republicans. You understand that your listeners all have a horror story to tell about healthcare or lack of in the U.S. I make no bones about the fact that people may have horror stories about healthcare. I say you don't kill the CEO for it. You don't kill the CEO for it. If you believe in a banana republic, okay. What was that, producer Landon? 30 already. Wow, jeepers. But you don't go about killing people. And Kyle Rittenhouse, by the way, was legally carrying a firearm, was attacked, repeatedly attacked. The guy came at him again, and that's when he shot. You don't have an argument. What you have are names that you're throwing out there like it somehow matters. It's not the way it works. Not the way it works. Let's get back to the radio show. According to Merriam-Webster, polarization is the word of the year for 2024. Oddly, I thought it would be joy or vibes or of course, coup. Coup would have been a good one. C-O-U-P, coup. Like, hey, we're going to replace Joe Biden with Kamala Harris. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today, what's going on? Polarization. Division into two sharply distinct opposites. We're a divided country. Or are we? We a polarized country? What if I said it this way? We're not actually polarized. Our media is. We are not. Cable news is. We are not. MSNBC is. We are not. We are not polarized. You and your neighbor, not polarized. Don't get me wrong. You see a lot of madness out there. You see people screaming and yelling at each other. You see a lot of that. You also see a lot of decency. And you see the screaming because, well, it gets a lot of clicks. Is the nation polarized? No. Right now, consumer confidence is up. People feel very good about 2025, and that with Trump in office, their personal economic situation is going to get better. That's not a polarized nation. That's a nation saying, hey, this was a good result. You saw shifts take place across a multiplicity of voting blocks, shifting to the right. Nearly every state shifting to the right. The vast majority of counties in the country shifting to the political right. I don't think that's polarized. There was this the study on Twitter that Twitter is now more balanced than it was before Elon Musk bought it. Is that really polarized? Media is more polarized. The New York Times, the Washington Post are more polarized. And when the LA Times decides not to endorse a candidate, people quit. How dare you? This is no time for balance. Yeah. They keep saying it's us, and we should keep remembering that it's them. This is Tony Katz today. And kids, I appreciate you being part of the show. I appreciate you being with us today. We stream the first hour of the show. We go on. You can listen live at WIBC.com. I think I'm on to something. So we added the black panel to break this up so it looks a little bit better. And I specifically went with a shirt with some blue gray in it to see how it would look. Then we changed the lighting up a little bit. It looks a little brighter in here, a little more upbeat. So I think we're close. I think we're close to a studio. I think we're close. And Aldron, I don't know who Aldron is, who listens on KRMG in Tulsa. Thank you. Appreciate that, my friend. Love it. Love KRMG, and would absolutely like to find my way to doing more over there. I like Tulsa quite a bit. I like the station quite a bit. And I haven't been to Tulsa, so find me a cigar lounge and let's do something. Let's go visit. Let's go visit. That should happen immediately, if not sooner. Guys, I appreciate you very, very much for being here. Head on over to TonyKatz.com and be a part of everything that's going on over there, and subscribe and all of that jazz. And I'll be back tomorrow. I'm thinking 3 days a week. We might be close to 5 days a week, but we're getting it going. We're going to make this work. Again, a pleasure. And don't forget Nick Searcy's book. If you get yourself a nice Christmas gift, that is Justify This, A Career Without Compromise by Nick Searcy. If you want another book, Let's Go Bourbon. And I have a book called Let's Go Barbecue. They're excellent. You should get them at Amazon.com. We are Eat, Drink, Smoke. Fingers, Malloy, and I. That's the largest cigar and bourbon radio review program in the country. I do that as well. I like to stay busy. I appreciate you guys being here. I'll catch you next time. Take care.